talks.
Okay, hi, good morning everybody. Welcome back again. So we are continuing on session 4, which is all about sexual health and sexual behavior. We are going to continue with activity 14, which is HIV, facts or fiction. Okay, so this is on page 70. Sorry, we're starting activity 12. Right time to have sex. So the aim is to improve a negotiation about sex, to make effective decisions about our sexual lives, because remember, we can't stop them from having sex. This is a cultural thing. But you can help them to make proper decisions. Decisions that will help them in life, that will save them from heartache, from, like you were talking now, from having early babies, from financial stress, all kinds of stress. So your decisions are what can make and break your life. If you make wise decisions, you can have a good quality life. So this is what we are trying to instill in them. So remember, we've now gone through their self-esteem, building their self-esteem, building the self-identity, how they feel about themselves, how they interact with other people, their self-worth, all of those things. And now we are at a point where we can speak about sex, because now they can identify what their worth is and what they can bring to the table. They can identify issues where they can say no, where they don't have to give in to peer pressure, where they can stand up for themselves against adults who want to abuse them, or kids who want to abuse them, or peer pressure or whatever, because now they have more self-worth and more self-esteem, so they have more in them to be able to stand up, because they see there's something in them that is worth more. They don't have to live the way society dictates to them. So now they are obviously going to be in a peer pressured sexual environment, because they are at that age where their hormones are raging and so forth. So they are going to have to make proper decisions. So it's your job to help them think about all the things that they need to think about regarding sex. To now, through these workshops, you're going to help them see there are options, there are choices. They don't have to feel intimidated and give in to the pressure. They can actually have healthy conversations about sex. They can have healthy behavioral attitudes towards sex and make proper healthy decisions around sex. So now, when is the right time to have sex? So the time will be 40 minutes. So this session is very long. And I would advise that you break it up into sections. So like maybe you have to see how much you can fit into one session. So again, when you start, you have to prepare. Okay, that is the main focal point. Use an hour before to set up, to write these things out. Rather write it out before the time, because you have to write it out to explain to them, to see. And also, like I was telling July last week, yes, it's in your book, but it's better when you write it out, because then it goes into your mind as well. So you are starting to learn and identify the information. And so when you have to start preparing for the workshop itself, it's already there. You already understand the content. It's easier to just get involved in it. So that is why I know it's tedious, but there is method to the madness. It's very important to do it this way. Okay? So you have to prepare before the time, get all your things in order, your toolkits, everything. Write everything down before the time. Also, remember to read the room. You have to read the room. That will determine how the whole exercise will evolve and develop. Because there might be someone who has just had bad experiences. You need to identify and be sensitive towards that bad experience that they have just had. There might be infighting amongst the kids with attitudes and stuff, because these are teenagers. So you need to learn to manage that. You need to see So from the activities, what is going to work, what isn't going to work. Some of the activities are compulsory, some is not compulsory. So you have to gauge and see what will work for this group, what won't work for them. That's why it's important to read the room, and remember to always be positive. Put on your other persona when you enter the room so that they can have a safe space, a safe environment. Because you sometimes are the only person they can rely on or trust, with this type of information. These are very sensitive topics that you cover, so they don't always want to speak to their teacher or their parents or whatever. But they can speak to, because you are dealing with these issues with them. They're going through it with you. So they are building trust, you are helping them, you are nurturing them and growing them. So it's important to show love, to show kindness, to not judge, to show understanding, especially if they are gay or something like that. They might have other preconceived ideas. The kids in the class might have preconceived ideas because the attitude towards gay people, but you need to explain to them and help them to understand that everybody is entitled to how they feel they want to live their life, and nobody should judge them accordingly. So it's about teaching them respect of other people as well. Okay, so it will be 40 minutes. The first activity will be role play, which will be a 30-minute thing. So you need to ask 2 participants to participate in the role play, a boy and a girl, and they need to be thinking about whether they will have sex or not. So you need to make them understand it's just a role that they're going to play. And in this role, they are going to be having the discussion or making the choice of whether they're going to have sex or not. Because is now doing live examples of how life actually is. Okay, so you give the pair names, pseudo names, whatever they feel they want to have, and you ask them to leave the group, and then get the group into pairs as well. Okay, they should agree on you have to set up a whole concept of, they must agree what their past relationship was. They must agree how long they've been together, how long they know each other, how and when they get together. Is it after school? Is it weekends? And so forth. They must now sort of build this relationship and explain or choose how they want this relationship to look. Okay? And then obviously they need to decide how they feel about each other, or how they want to be feeling about each other. So then the rest of the group you have to put in pairs, and you have to prepare them for the questions that they must ask, for the boys and the girls, and they need to ensure that they make effective, informed and empowered decisions. Those words are very important. It must be effective, it must be informed, and it must be empowered. So when it's effective, it means that it will have a good result, a good end result. So it will have a good effect on their lives. When it's informed, it means that they know the knowledge, or they have the knowledge around the situation, the context. So if it's around discussing if they're going to have sex or not, do they have enough information, or do they know enough to understand the repercussions of what sex means? Do they understand what it involves? Do they understand, like last week we covered, it's not just a physical act. It does affect you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So it's a holistic thing, and if you are not prepared psychologically to do this physical act, the repercussions can have very long-term effects. So they need to understand all of that and everything involved in that before they make such a decision. And then knowing all those things will then empower them. So because they now have the knowledge of what these decisions can withdrawn. And they have the ability within themselves now, because of their strengthened self-esteem. So now they're more positive in making choices and assertive in making choices. This can now empower them, give them strength to do better, to be better, to have more effective decisions, and to have a ripple effect of a better life. Because one good decision works on another, works on another, works on another. So you're having building blocks of positivity towards a positive life, towards a better outcome. And if you can do that, and your neighbor can do that, the community can then do that. And you can then help others, which is the ultimate goal of this, is to empower and help others around these topics. So, very important. Okay, so you need to avoid using the words good or bad. You need to explain to them that these are judging words, and you are not there to judge anybody, okay? And you are not there to decide what people's behaviors must be or what decisions they must make. So other words that you can use is uninformed, ineffective, or disempowered. So those have more positive connotations to it, even though it means bad or good. But rather, like we said before, informed or uninformed, ineffective or effective, disempowered or empowered. So your choices will leave you with either the good or the bad, which is effective, informed, and empowered. So then you need to invite the couple, once you've now gone through all of that, invite them to join the group, and then explain to the group members that they are going to help them make decisions, whether to have sex or not, by asking the questions we're going to go through later. Okay, so you also need to ask the couple, ask the couple to introduce themselves by giving their names that they decided on. And then they're going to have a hot seat situation. So they're going to be sitting there, and people are going to be asking them questions, and these questions need to make them think about what their answers are going to be. Okay? So then asking them to stay in character while the questions are being asked. They can't get upset, because this is not them. They are pretending to be other people. So they need to stay in character with the thought process as well. It's not how they would normally think, but rather how this person is supposed to think in the situation. Okay, so you need to tell the people to make sure that they ask questions for both the boy and the girl, because they need to make the decisions together. Normally, the guy makes all the decisions and the girl must manage, especially when it comes to sex. But they need to understand that it's two parties involved. The girl can say no, the girl can say yes. They can have a positive discussion about whether they will have sex or not. This is what I'm going to do married. Wow, okay. You can have a positive discussion about your interest. Interesting. Good luck with that. Okay. After the group have asked the questions, you need to facilitate a further discussion about prevention options, unplanned pregnancy, responsibilities, education, and then obviously dropping out of school because they now have to be a parent and so forth. Because they need to understand that having sex will lead to all these consequences. It's not as simple as just you're having pleasure. There are repercussions to these things, and if you're not mentally and emotionally matured, you won't be able to handle those things at that age. Okay, so they need to learn. Main thing is responsibility, so that these other things don't happen. Because you don't want them to have to drop out of school now to look after the child, because their parents are working to support them, now they have to look after the child, because who's going to look after the child? You know, so these are real life scenarios and questions that they need to consider, and who's going to feed the child? And they are children themselves. So it's like they need to realize that the decisions they make can have terrible consequences for the rest of their life. So they need to be smart in the discussion or the thought process with sex. It's not just a matter of, oh, we want sex. Yeah, exactly. No, there are consequences, so you need to have the discussion. So remember to debrief the participants after the session and thank them for the participation, and that they can go back to the group within normal days. Okay, so it's always important to those who participate in any role play or whatever, you need to thank them, because for some of them they step out of their comfort zone to do this thing. Sometimes the very nature of the information that they have to discuss rattled them, you know, or affected them in a negative way or so forth. So you need to show appreciation for the effort that they do put in. Because some people, maybe their self-esteem is not good yet, you know, and so doing something like this might have been exhausting and difficult for them emotionally. So thank them, help them to understand that what they did was a good thing, and then welcome them back into the group. If you show people or show them how they need to be treated, they can then see, oh, I need to treat others that way. It's like, my friends always tell me, girls decide how the relationship wants to go. Because she's the one that says yes or no. She's the one that allows the guy to treat her like this or like that. Because she can say, I'm not going to stand for this abuse, verbally or whatever, or I don't think this peer pressure is what I want, you know, that type of thing, because they must have healthy discussions. So the girl has a lot of power, and they need to understand that, because girls sometimes, most times, think they are powerless.
Yeah.
They think they must not, oh, he likes me, so I must just do whatever he wants because he's the man and I don't want to upset him and whatever. But a relationship is a two-way thing. It's not that I tell you and you must do what I say. It's what do we both want to do, or what do we both want to get out of this thing. So you need to thank them and make them feel that they are important and what they did was good. Okay, so step 2, now you're going to have the group dialogue. This is going to be 15 minutes where they now discuss. So you divide them into single sex groups. So girls aside, boys outside, or whatever. And you ask them about how people and their genders are expected to behave about sexual intercourse. For example, can you see? Sorry. For example, should girls ask boys for sex? And a lot of the time, people think that girls should never ask boys for sex. It's always just boys that ask girls. But who says that, you know? It's a two-way thing. Why can't girls ask? Yeah. So
no one can ask.
Exactly. So these questions will make them think. You know, make them think against the norm of what they are used to, of what culture dictates. They need to see there's more to what they always thought or saw how things must be. Okay? Should they say yes when a boy asks for sex? What about when an older man asks for sex? Should boys ask girls for sex? What do people think of boys who do not ask girls for sex? And what do boys think and feel and do when a girl refuses to have sex with them? So these are very thought-provoking questions. Because what do you what do you think about an older man who asks for sex? Most girls, it's like inculcated and ingrained in them that, oh, he's a blesser. You need help. He's a sugar daddy or whatever. They think it's a good stigma that's attached to it. But actually, in terms of what it really means, it's abuse. Because they are much older. The girl is still a child. So she can't reason. She just thinks, oh, he loves me. Oh, this or that. She doesn't realize that he's abusing his power as an adult. That this is actually pedophilia. Because older men, adults, should not be having sex with younger children. That's against the law. He can go to jail. You know, it's not how society or people think it is, but they don't know that. And they need to realize and understand that it's wrong. That's not right. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you want to have a blesser or whatever, that's up to you. But you need to have the maturity to understand what it means. It's not just, oh, I'm getting my money. You're actually prostituting yourself, if you think about it. Because you're giving in sexual favors for him to fill your cupboards or buy you clothes or whatever. Do you want to have that type of lifestyle? So people think it's prestigious, it's like wonderful because my man drives a BM and I have this and that but do you realize what it actually means because you're still a child? You know? So they need to look at things differently because they just see what society tells them to see. And what do people think about boys who do not ask girls for sex? A lot of them think either they're gay or they're wimps or whatever the case, they're not man enough, you know. But is that really the case? Or is he trying to be a gentleman? Is he trying to make proper decisions and choices for his life? Is he respecting the girl? You know, so it's not just about he's a wimp and I don't want to go there, he's not worth it, and me, and you know, it's not about that. It's about what is the reasoning behind why. And sometimes you find there's more value and worth in that person because they treasure you more through the decisions they are making out of respect for you and the situation. And then, what do boys think and feel when a girl refuses to have sex with them? What are some of the things they think? They fight.
When the girl is refusing to do this kind of fight.
Really?
It's going to be aggressive.
Oh.
That girl is someone else. That's what they think.
Yeah.
But it's
You
not
had
like-
sex somewhere.
Exactly.
You don't want to give me.
Yeah. So what if, yes, she had sex before with other guys, but now she's changed. Now she knows better. Now she has more self-worth. So now she wants to make different decisions. He needs to learn to become mature enough to accept and respect her decision. Because it's not always about sex. So you are teaching them models. You are teaching them fundamental life principles that will make them better people. And when they are mature emotionally enough to deal with it, then they can have these discussions and decisions and whatever. But until then, you need to mold the character to become a good man, a good husband, a good father. Because if they're starting young with this type of behavior at 14, now, like you say, he becomes aggressive. What kind of husband is he going to be? What kind of father is he going to be? And do we want to perpetuate that cycle? Do we want to keep making these little boys into such men? No. And that is the problem in society, is that they start young with the wrong attitude, doing the wrong things, and then it becomes a whole group of adults that are used to this and don't know any different because nobody showed them or taught them or told them there is a different way. There is a better way. So you're not saying they can't have sex. You're saying, think about what it means. Think about the repercussions of it. What it eventually means for your life. Because unfortunately, as pleasurable as it is, it has serious repercussions. You could get AIDS, which is a death sentence. HIV, sorry. You know? You could fall pregnant and then your whole life is down the tubes. So, the repercussions of that pleasurable act are devastating at that age. And they need to understand there's so much more involved. Okay. So when you are busy asking these questions and they are discussing it, keep saying these little things to make them think. Okay, so ask the group to do some role playing and show how a girl or boy should ideally behave. So now they've discussed all those questions. Now they have an idea of what it should be, how a girl should act, how a boy should act, maybe in that scenario or in a different scenario. And then you're going to ask these questions when they do the role play. Who should bring the condoms? What does it mean if a boy has a condom on him? What does it mean if a girl has a condom on her? And what will you do if a condom is missing from the pack? Like it has been used, but it's your first time with that person. So these are thought-provoking questions because, true, who must bring the condom?
Both of them.
Both of them. Because who says only the boy must? It's only his responsibility. Yes, most people think the boy must because he's the one that normally wants the sex. But what if the girl also wants sex? Why can't she be prepared for whatever should happen? It's being responsible. Maybe she doesn't want to, but as a teenager, you never know with your hormones, and then in your mind you don't want to, but your body says something else.
Forces me.
Exactly. What if he forces you? Then at least just force it, do it responsibly. Not that it's a good thing, but I mean, because of the repercussions of what it could mean. And so, what will you do if the condom is missing? Now it brings up a whole new kettle of fish. Because, are you cheating on me?
Of course.
Because this is our first time. What happened to the condom? What's going on? How many other girls do you have? What is this actually about? Do you just try me? Or did you do it on purpose so that you don't have to use a condom? Because most guys don't like using condoms. So it's a discussion that needs to be had because she needs to understand what is his intention actually. What does he really want? They need to play open cards. And the more you do that, the more you mature as a person because now you're speaking real scenarios, you're speaking real life things that could affect you eventually. So how do you deal with it? Do you deal with it in a mature way? Do you get angry, aggressive, start?
Me, I don't know, like with that last question, I'm happy. When I see condom in my boyfriend, I'm happy. Because she's using condom, even if it's not really with me.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wow.
For me, it's like, what can I do? What can I do? If it's cheating, it's cheating. And as long as I don't see. But if I see the condom that is missing, then it's okay. At least to use, at least.
Wow, you are very strong. That's all I can say. Very strong because
Me, I'm fine.
I think a normal female would be saying,
Me, I'm okay.
oh, hell to the no.
No.
I'm supposed to be the only one here. What is this? What is going on
Maybe
here?
I'm matured enough because I really do understand it.
But you see, again, it speaks to what are your life choices. How do you want to live your life? If you are okay with that, and you feel that that's maturity in you, in your relationship and what you do, then that is how, based on your knowledge and experience and how you want to live your life, that is your set of rules. Everybody has a different set of rules they want to live by, but you need to be informed
Yeah,
in order to live by.
like, I came with my, we discussed that, we are not you don't want to use condom, so we trust each other. Like I said, okay, it's fine. Please, if ever maybe you truly wanted to try someone else, use a condom.
Because it speaks about respect towards you.
Yeah.
Because what if he catches something by her
Then we must-
and then he brings an STI
You
to
see.
you or something? So
Okay,
if
discussion
you
is
guys
nice.
are open to that type of relationship, do it responsibly
Yeah.
so that you don't have repercussions based on. So it's to each his own,
Yeah.
but knowledge is power. So you need to decide how you, and you can't make decisions unless you know what it is you are deciding. So you need to be informed, you need to understand every single different thing about what is involved in this. And it's not simple, it's very in-depth. And from there you can decide how you want to live your life. It's very mature.
That's easy, but mature.
Okay, so now we're going to activity 13. Pregnancy and our sexual bodies. So we're going to deal with myths. As you know, in the community there are lots of myths. And people believe these myths. They believe that, for example, if you sleep with a virgin, your AIDS will go away.
What's that?
Exactly. No! No! So people believe that, like huge amounts of communities actually believe things like that. So they need to understand what is a myth and what is the fact. Because you can only make decisions based on facts. You can't make decisions based on beliefs or myths or what people think. It needs to be factual in order to make an informed, empowered, effective decision. Okay, so step 1, you need to brainstorm with a group on their stories and myths that they may have heard about where babies come from. So you need to give them a time to discuss what they know or have heard about where babies come from. Now when I was growing up, the story was from storks and bees and all kinds of weird stories because they didn't want you to know the truth because they didn't want you to do it. But now we passed that age.
Mountain.
There you
Behind
go.
the mountain.
Yes. So like there are weird stories out there and some of them do believe. So discuss that first and then explain the next set of things, the myths and the facts to the group. Okay? Then step 2, ask why they think they have been told the stories and myths. So again, like I said, in my time when I was a teeny bobber, these myths were to prevent us from having to know the truth, from having, to have the talk with them. Because now adults don't want to have these talks with their teeny bobbers. They don't want to speak about the birds and the bees in terms of sex goes into the vagina, blah, 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 because people are odorous or they feel uncomfortable or they think the child is too young to be exposed to such stuff. Sometimes they are, but the reality of life is that these things affect people or kids at a younger and younger age all the time. So you can't have ostrich mentality, which means that you put your head in the sand and you ignore what's happening around you, as if it's not happening. You can't. You are affected by what is happening around you and you have to make decisions about how you are going to deal with what's happening around you. So how do you deal with your children at a young age around this topic? Do you want to give them myths And why do you want to give them this? Because you feel they're not young enough to know the truth. You still want to protect their innocence. Fair and well, but you can't stop life from happening. So you as the parent or adult needs to decide how you want to handle it, but the truth is still the truth. So telling kids a myth might have worse repercussions in the long run than actually giving them the facts.
Outside, you will get another information.
Exactly.
Which is a different one.
Exactly. Because now a girl is naive and oblivious and thinks that storks bring babies, and then a boy thinks she is prime target, gets in a room and says, oh, you have to do this with me because otherwise you're going to hurt my feelings. So because she's still naive now, she does it and there she falls pregnant. And here she still thinks that storks bring babies. You know, so it's disempowering them also because of how life is at the moment. Step 3, ask if anyone can accurately and in detail describe or explain how a woman falls pregnant. So in today's modern technology, information is out there. So as much as myths are out there from society, information is also at their fingertips. So you find that these kids are very street smart. They know a lot of stuff they shouldn't be knowing about adult life at that age, you know. So as much as you want to protect the innocence, because of technology, you can't really. It's a bit too difficult. Exactly. So again, what do? Would you rather prepare them for the eventuality should it happen, that they are exposed to these things, or do you want to make them live in a bubble and have ostrich mentality? So it's up to you, but for the purpose of these workshops, you have to educate them. So now you need to find out what is it that they know. How much do they know? In order to see how you need to facilitate the rest of the workshop. Okay? So some of them might know everything in detail. Some of them might only know a little. Some of them might know nothing. You know, so you need to be cognizant of that fact, and you need to handle each one differently but with the same respect, because now the one who knows everything might look down on the one who knows nothing, yet the one who knows nothing is sort of still pure in their childhood, so to say, if you know what I mean. They are still naive, and these days it's a good thing to still be naive, because to be too educated for your age is also not a good thing, because now children are forced to grow up sooner than they are ready, because emotional maturity plays a very big part. So they might be ready and street smart or whatever, but emotionally they might not be ready, because these are adult things that they are not ready for. They might know all about it and be okay with it, but they might not be ready for the repercussions of what it will do to them. So yes, you want to keep kids as, not naive, but as innocent as possible for as long as possible, but unfortunately that just is life. So now you find out what they know of how a woman falls pregnant, and then you ask them why they think they need to know this information. Sometimes, Jessie, ask them why they need to know this information. Some of them think, oh, it's just part of the workshop. They might not realize that this is vital information for the maturity, for the growth, for the lives, basically. So you need to understand where and get a sense of where everybody is at so that you can deal with it appropriately. Because you don't also want to hurt someone's feelings by how you deal with it. Or you don't want to assume they know this and that, and then they actually didn't, and then you embarrass them and whatever. Because they are still at that tender age and they're still just learning, their self-esteem and identity and all those things. So you need to tread softly and so on. Okay, then step 5, you need to hand out the questions to each person and explain to them that this is aimed at developing pregnancy and sexual knowledge. Like I said, knowledge is power. So they have to understand what these things mean. Okay, step 6. Ask the participants if they know the answer to the questions. If they know the answer, ask them to find out if people in the group who have a different answer, to find people in the group who have a different answer and discuss which answers they think are right. So they need to now mingle and see who thinks what and discuss what the answers are. And if they don't know of someone who has an answer, ask them to find a participant in the group who does and then discuss. So sometimes they might not know or have an answer or understand something, but somebody else can, and then they can discuss or they can ask questions as to why that person thinks that or whatever. So again, it's about knowledge sharing, because one person in the group might be very street smart and know a lot of these things and be able to educate them at their level, which can also help because it's someone at their level that's educating, so they accept it more because it comes from one of them, as opposed to if you were just telling them. So that's why it's also good to get those who know, those who don't know, and also those who do know, to discuss ideas, because knowledge sharing also builds you. Because I might think of one thing, but then you come and you say something different, and then I think about it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it that way, or okay, that makes sense, or yeah, now I know more. Interesting, like that. Okay, so step 7, ask each participant to report back the answers of the questions to the group, and make sure you're using the answers to the questions below that is correct and factual in giving the questions. Okay, so now we're going to go through the questions and answers. Question 1. What is it called when semen leaves the penis? Most times they only start this information like midway through high school. But again, most of them, or some of them might know already. You get those kids who know. So then the answer is ejaculation is when semen, which is the fluid containing the sperm, comes out of the penis when a man has an orgasm. So sometimes they don't know this detail. Sometimes they only know sperm. But there's a whole process to knowing what sperm is and how it works. So giving them the background actually helps them. True or false? Menstruation is the lining of the uterus coming away. So maybe you want to also break this down, because what does this mean? So it just means the inside of the uterus is just like peeling away from the inside of the body. And this is true, because during menstruation, the lining of the uterus breaks away and leaves the body through the vagina. This happens approximately once a month and is sometimes called a period. Number 3, what are the ovaries and who has them? The ovaries. Right?
You're doing life science now.
Yeah, exactly. The ovaries produce eggs to be fertilized to become bodies. Women have 2 ovaries and they are part of the female reproductive system. Maybe they did learn this in school, but now you're making it practical because now it's linked to their decisions and what they do. So in order to understand what decisions they need to make, they need to understand the intricate details involved in these acts that they want to do. It's not just sex.
Is it true that during menstruation you can get pregnant? If you have sex while you are in period, you can get pregnant.
Well, technically, you're not supposed to, but anything is possible. I know that the longer your period is, the more likely you are.
Get pregnant.
No, the more likely you don't fall pregnant. Because pregnancy only happens when ovulation takes place. And ovulation can only take place at a certain point in the cycle. So when the shedding happens, the ovulation is not there. So, you know, when you, after your period, if there's a few days, sometimes it's different, but there's about 10 days after, 5 to 10 days after your period, then like the white substance comes out, that is your ovulation. That means you are ready and fertile to receive the sperm. And you will fall pregnant if you have sex then. But the state of the egg in this process, no, you shouldn't be falling pregnant. But that's why when you have shorter periods, you are more susceptible to falling pregnant than someone who has longer periods. Okay. So when you explain these things to them, they need to understand what is happening in their bodies when they have sex or around sex or whatever. Because they also, like I said now, they need to understand what time will be good for them to have sex. If the boy doesn't want to use a condom, if they really want to have sex, rather try and then wait till like 21 days after or immediately after your period, but not that 5 to 10 day window. Normally it's 10 days, but not that window, and their body will tell them when. But normally your clock is on time, but that's more or less how that is. So explain to them when you're ovulating, don't, because you will fall pregnant. If you want to have sex, try and do it safely. If you insist on having sex without a condom, do it at the right time, so that you can avoid pregnancy. Because you need to know all these things so that you can avoid pregnancy. Because that effect is terrible afterwards. I've been ruining your life as a child and stuff. Okay, who has fallopian tubes and what are they used? What are they for? Fallopian tubes join the ovaries to the uterus. When an egg is released from the ovary, it travels through the fallopian tubes into the uterus. So sometimes you have what it's called ectopic pregnancy. I don't even say that word. Anyway, it's when the sperm actually fertilizes in the fallopian tubes. So here's your uterus and the fallopian tubes are like here. So sometimes ectopic. Sometimes women fall pregnant in their fallopian tubes, and then they most times have a miscarriage because it needs to be in the womb, not in the tubes. The tubes is just where the flow goes.
What happened when you fall pregnant then?
What went wrong?
It doesn't mean anything went wrong. It just means that the sperm couldn't wait to get in the womb. And somehow, got a hold of and got a hold of the egg before the
a
womb.
lot of women that I know, they were fall pregnant all day, falling tube or something like that. But however, they don't put this where it was on the fallopian tube. They just say
it was in the wrong
Oh.
side of the womb. Like,
Oh.
the womb has rooms.
Yeah, so I mean they need to understand what it means, because most times if it's in the fallopian tube, either if the child does like grow there, it can have lots of, like the child can be affected, inflammation and all kinds of problems, or the pregnancy itself can be a very dangerous pregnancy. The mother's life can be at risk, the baby's life can be at risk. She can have a miscarriage, but it would be a very bad miscarriage, maybe not have children afterwards. So understanding that this can happen can also have lots of repercussions, because it's a serious thing. It's not a normal thing. If you fall pregnant in the fallopian tube. Where do babies grow in the body? The vagina or the uterus? So, the uterus. What do testicles do? Testicles make sperm cells. Adult testicles can make up to 2,000 sperm cells every second. True or false? When a boy and a girl have sexual intercourse, the penis goes into the uterus. False. The penis goes into the vagina during the intercourse. It goes into the vagina, and then the sperm is released and goes up through the fallopian tubes into the uterus. Who has a clitoris and where isn't? So a lot of people don't know about this information. Women have a clitoris. It is stimulated above the urethra and opening to the vagina. What is a clitoris for? Ovulation, pleasure, hormone regulation, or bladder control? B. The clitoris is for pleasure, and it is very sensitive and can grow when sexually aroused. So it's like a little knob, and you'll see when you don't even have to have sex, just foreplay or whatever, it will grow in size. It become like a hard little bud in between your flaps. So that is what causes the pleasure for a woman. Above the clitoris, like this part here, your pelvis, the bottom part of your pelvis. If you put pressure on that while stimulating the clitoris, that's what causes or can lead to an orgasm. Most women, unfortunately, don't have orgasms. Majority of women don't have. They don't know what it is. Because most men don't know how to stimulate or work. Because it's a very tricky thing to understand, and where it's situated is a bit difficult. So if you don't know how to stimulate, the woman probably won't be aroused, so to say. So that's why most women don't have pleasure during sex, and they can live without sex, because there's no pleasure in it for them. They just do it because the man wants to do it. There's very few women who actually are very aroused and have orgasms and really enjoy sex.
Are you the one?
Okay. Can women orgasm, and does a woman need an orgasm to fall pregnant? Yes, women can orgasm, but like I said, it's very rare. And no, a woman does not need to have an orgasm to fall pregnant, as you know, because the pregnancy is there, but she didn't have so much fun. And that's just the moral of the story. Majority of women have no idea what it means to orgasm. They have no idea what it means to have sexual pleasure. For them, it's more emotional. So the whole act is an emotional connotation of love and feelings and whatever, and they're not really experiencing the actual physical pleasure, because there is like the men have pleasure, the women, if stimulated properly, can also have the same pleasure, if not more. Because a guy during a sexual intercourse session only orgasms once. Right? And then after the sperm comes out, and then he's finished. But a woman can have multiple orgasms in one sexual session. So if stimulated correctly, she can have the most pleasure all the time compared to a guy. But again, unfortunately, most women don't. And
I'm not into that.
not what?
I'm not into that.
You won't know until you
Yes. yes.
you can't talk until you've experienced.
Uh-huh.
It's like you can't say if a movie, if you enjoyed a movie or not if you didn't watch it. So, but I mean, it's a reality that 99% of women they can live without sex happily. They don't need it because it doesn't do anything for them except bring babies, which is a schlep. But it's more the emotional connection and
Maybe that is why there's a lot of what you call lesbian now. The women that they don't like sex or something.
and
I think
also if you are a woman, you know what you need to be pleasured. So another woman will know how to pleasure a woman. So yes, that is why. I mean, I know of a few women who were so hurt by men they became lesbians.
Me too, I know women like that.
Because of the emotional
Yeah.
pain.
It's not that they like them,
Not the
all
pleasure.
like that.
Exactly,
No.
and because
No.
most men don't know how to pleasure the woman, a woman knows how to pleasure a woman, so they find more sexual pleasure because they can now orgasm, because the girl knows what she's doing. That is a fact.
Yes, ma'am.
So they might not be sexually orientated as in born gay or whatever like others. They make the choice because of life and what happened to them. But then I know sometimes they just go back
Anyway.
to a man.
Crazy.
Anyway, what is an erection and how is it caused? An erection is when a boy's penis gets bigger and hard. It is caused by blood flowing into the veins of the penis as a result of sexy thoughts and touching of the penis. So a man is stimulated, well, both, stimulated visually and physically. Does a boy need to have an orgasm to make a baby and why? Yes, because sperm is needed to fertilize an egg to make a baby, and sperm is the semen that comes out of the penis at ejaculation when the orgasm happens. So they need to understand this also, you know, that sperm is actually what is going to make the baby, fertilize that egg. But you can only have sperm if you have an orgasm, and then ejaculation happens, which is coming out of the sperm. So the more they understand the details, the better equipped they are to make the decisions. Maybe they can even now know, okay, the guy must pull out, you know, before he ejaculates or whatever. That could also be prevention. So they need to understand the different stages.
But that
For
do you
prevention.
think is good? It's 100% correct that when the man is about to ejaculate and then you stop the man going outside because you just mentioned how that there's 2,000 how much 2,000 to spend during the whatsoever. So don't you think during the sex there's a little bit of sex that sperm coming out that I can make pregnant before that ejaculation?
Can't the men feel?
So think about when you're giving a blowjob. So is there,
There is.
Is there a little?
There is a
Some
little.
guys will do it. Sometimes there isn't. So the guy must be able to feel and say, okay, I need to pull out now because the feeling stuff is coming. There's also such a thing as pre-ejaculation, which doesn't necessarily have potent sperm cells. No? So it's the ejaculated sperm maybe that has the
Yes, I know the difference is the power, but I have also noticed that the other sperms as well.
That
they
is
can,
yes.
you can fall pregnant because people the way like instead of using injection or something, they say, okay, no, I do have sex, but I do have sex. I don't use any injection or I don't use condom. But when my when my boyfriend is ready, we just pull out and then I won't get pregnant.
Well, like I said,
But for
each
me,
guy is different. So some guys do like have little bits of ejaculation during the whole thing, and others only at the end. So he needs to know how he works, and you plan according to that, if that's the route you want to go. It wouldn't be advised because, yes, sperm swim upstream. So sometimes you don't even have to have sex to fall pregnant in terms of maybe you were just like, you know, dried up in or whatever the case may be, or you were like getting heated without putting it in, and maybe you came already or whatever, and because she's wet and he's, and it could. These things do happen, can happen. I mean,
On the good nose.
yes. Because also there's a thing known as copulation. So it's a scientific term. When you want to put petrol in the car, say the car is stuck and you now need to put petrol in, you must now get, they say you must get a little pipe and the canister. How, if the canister is at the bottom and gravity is a thing, how does the petrol move up into the car without being pumped? That's called copulation. So when there's a tube or something and there's water or liquid at the end, it slowly travels up along the sides of the tube, whether there's gravity or not or whatever. It moves up along the tube. That is called copulation. That's also something. No. Stuff can move up without pressure. Slowly, but so yeah, anything is, but they need to understand all the differences so that they can see maybe it's wisest not to do anything. Because if they're going to do it, there's a risk. Are they willing to take that risk? Okay. So the last three questions point to the debate about whether a man has a bigger sex drive. No, because, okay, yes, sometimes it's all about the man's sex drive, but as we now discussed and saw, a woman can also have a healthy, strong sex drive if stimulated correctly. And you get some women that just are a lot hornier than other normal. In general, women are not horny, like men are horny, but they can be. There are those who are, and also when you orgasm, then you really are, and you enjoy it as much as the guy does. So a guy doesn't necessarily have a higher sex drive. Depends on if he knows what he's doing and if she has a higher sex drive. But from these questions, you can see that men need an orgasm for procreation, which is pregnancy, to happen. But a female doesn't need to orgasm for pregnancy to happen. The sperm is the key. Okay, so now we're going to go to myths. Male circumcision prevents HIV transmission. Lots of people believe this. They believe that if they are circumcised, they won't. Male. It looks, yes, sorry. Oh. That doesn't mean that. Young people may think that it is safe to have unexpected sex when the male is circumcised because their foreskin, the part of the penis that makes them more susceptible to HIV transmission, is removed. The fact is that male circumcision reduces HIV transmission among males by up to 60%, but it does not prevent HIV transmission. So it doesn't prevent. It is important to understand the facts from the myths that go around.
But at least 60% when they circumcised.
I will
Yes,
not even say.
but you can still get it.
Yes, very.
Okay, ARVs, antiretroviral drugs, disfigure you. This is also a big myth that people believe. In the past, people who are on ARV treatment experienced side effects that included fat loss in the legs, arm and face while developing more fat in the tummy and breasts. This makes people's body look unbalanced. The fact is, nowadays, this is a range of days to choose from, and doctors better equipped to monitor side effects. Okay, basically, doctors can monitor the side effects. There are always side effects to drugs. Any drug that you take, any medication that you take, is going to be a side effect. So, this is not really true, but it will affect, different medication affect different people differently. It's like when you are on the pill. Most women pick up weight when you're on the pill, but not everybody does. So it's got to do with your hormones and how your body metabolizes and all those things.
It's not about the HIV treatment
Yeah.
can make you fight
Yes.
or make you feel. It depends on you.
It depends on you, but also remember, when you have HIV/AIDS, you start wasting.
Yeah.
That means that you can't eat, you can't keep anything down, so you automatically just, you just fade away basically. And lots of people die from the wasting itself, not necessarily the fact that the immune system is gone. So the point of the ARVs is to stimulate the appetite so that they can eat, be healthier, because what you eat builds your immune system. And your they don't have immune systems, but it can build all the other thingies in the body to make them healthier and stronger and fight whatever, should an infection or something come.
Nowadays the drug does that. Because all of the drugs like eat a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Because they
the
need
previous one didn't work.
The trial,
They do the
try another one.
like the equal monitor.
Yes.
They do that, yeah.
Okay, myth number 7. Only people with multiple sex partners are vulnerable to HIV transmission. People believe that because they have one sexual partner, they are not at risk of HIV transmission. Therefore, there is no need for a condom during sex. The fact is, although it is true that people with multiple sexual partners are at a high risk of acquiring HIV, everyone who engages in unprotected sex is at risk of getting HIV, whether they have one or multiple. Unfortunately, lots of people believe that
On
the myth
multiple one.
where if they have one partner, they're safe. But
Where is
one
that?
partner-
Where is that
That
one partner coming from?
exactly,
Exactly.
if you have an open relationship or an understanding relationship like you, mature one, he could be with 10,000 women
Yeah,
and
now
yes.
he's with me only.
So you don't know.
Yeah.
It's for him to have the emotional maturity to be open and honest with you and to be responsible when he is with you.
Nowadays, that's
So, yeah, so that is why it's important for them to understand that just because someone says something about something doesn't mean it's true. Because in order to make an informed decision, you need to know the facts, not myths. You need to know the truth behind things. You need to know, can you go the route of pulling out or mustn't you? So knowledge is power. They need to understand. The more they know, the better equipped they are to make informed, proper decisions. The best decision would be not to go down the route at all until they are mature enough, emotionally and mentally. But you can't stop somebody because they all have the power of choice, and it is their life. You can't stop somebody, you can only advise and help and guide. So you need to advise, help and guide in a holistic, healthy way to make them feel not judged, but understand it and accept it for whatever their choice is.
Because some of them they already exist already, so
Yes.
you can't stop them, you can't change.
You can't. But going forward, they could decide to now not anymore. Because what's in the past is in the past. It's what you do from today on that matters. Okay, any questions?
All I can say is today's session was very nice.
Thank